शिव बाबा से जिसका संबंध है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। शिव बाबा से जिसका संबंध है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। शिव बाबा से जिसका संबंध है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। जिसकी करनी में फूलों से महक है, जिसकी वाणी में कोयल की चहक है। ओ जिसकी करनी में फूलों से महक है, जिसकी वाणी में कोयल की चहक है। बाबा की रज़ा में रज़ामंद है, रज़ामंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। शिव बाबा से जिसका संबंध है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। पांच विकारों को दूर भगाए, सुख ही सुख सदा जीवन में पाए। पांच विकारों को दूर भगाए, सुख ही सुख सदा जीवन में पाए। ऐसा बच्चा बाबा को पसंद है, बाबा को पसंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। शिव बाबा से जिसका संबंध है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। दृष्टि है जिसकी केवल रूहानी, खुशियों में डूबी उसकी जिंदगानी। दृष्टि है जिसकी केवल रूहानी, खुशियों में डूबी उसकी जिंदगानी। सत्संग की जिसमें सुगंध है, जिसमें सुगंध है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। हो से हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। शिव बाबा से जिसका संबंध है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है। उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है, उसे हरदम आनंद ही आनंद है।
Om Shanti and good morning, dear divine family. Just to let you know, we apologize. There's a slight change in the program. I will start reading the Murli, and Sister Gopi, just something came up and she's going to be a little bit late. As soon as she comes on and puts a mic and a camera, then I will stop reading Murli and she will share. She is in Madhuban and something came up, and so she's going to be a little late. So I'll continue reading Baba's Murli and she will share in depth. So Baba's lovely, lovely Murli. This whole week, the Murli was based on soul consciousness and listening to Baba's, the loving parents, encouraging the children the whole time that Baba has come to show us the way, how we can be so, so happy, how we can attain all fortune at this confluence age and experience unlimited inheritance from him. And Baba's encouragement, children, you don't have to struggle because body consciousness makes us so unhappy. Body consciousness robs the soul of power, of all the gifts that Baba is offering at this time. And the main effort is soul consciousness. And Baba is saying when we are soul conscious, all the other vices finish. But when we are body conscious, being in body consciousness, all other vices come. Lust, anger, greed, attachment, etc. And how much effort and practice to be soul conscious. So, and Baba is saying our remembrance will become more stable when there's that deep practice of soul consciousness. And last Sunday's Murli, when we renounce body consciousness, the soul experiences that self-respect. The soul experiences regard from everyone and is also able to give that regard to others. When we are soul conscious, Baba is saying that our remembrance is filled with great patience, great depth, and also sincerity. And there's so much benefit when our remembrance is filled with these three qualities: great patience, great depth. Soul goes so deep into its original divinity and original quality and emerging the greatness of the soul. And sincerity. as we remember Baba with that sincerity, so much natural power there is within the soul. So Baba's Murli today, dated the 4th of December, 2021. And the essence, sweet children, body consciousness makes you very unhappy. Therefore, become soul conscious. By becoming soul conscious, your burden of sins will end. Question: on what basis do you receive a position of wealth in the golden age? On what basis do you receive a position of wealth in the golden age? Answer: you become wealthy on the basis of imbibing knowledge. However much wealth of knowledge someone imbibes and then donates, he accordingly receives a wealthy status and becomes ever wealthy. Study the study and also teach others. In order to become a world emperor, do a lot of royal service. Nice churning. What is a lot of royal service? And the next line, remove all defects. Become fully soul conscious. Remember the Father with great patience, depth, and sincerity. Song: have patience, O mind, your days of happiness are about to come. Om Shanti. Who said this? Have patience, O mind, your days of happiness are about to come. Who said this? The Father said, have patience to the children. He didn't say this to the whole world. Although all are children, not all of them are sitting here. Only you children know that this land of sorrow truly is changing. We are studying for the land of happiness. That is, we are following Srimad. You children are given patience. In fact, the whole world is receiving patience in an incognito way. You understand that you are listening directly. Not everyone listens in this way. He is the unlimited Father, the unlimited remover of sorrow, and bestower of happiness. He removes your sorrow and bestows He removes your sorrow and shows you the path to happiness. When you have happiness there, there can be no name or trace of sorrow. The world of happiness is called the golden age, and the world of sorrow is called the iron age. Only you children know that there is full happiness in the golden age, and that there is also 16 celestial degrees full, just as the moon becomes 16 celestial degrees full. The degrees then gradually decrease until the day of Amavas, when just a thin crescent-shaped line is left. It then becomes completely dark when you are 16 celestial degrees full. There is full happiness. In the iron age, they are devoid of the 16 degrees, and so there is sorrow. The whole world is eclipsed by the eclipse of Maya. This is why the Father says, first of all, renounce the body consciousness that you have in you. That body consciousness causes you a lot of sorrow. Nice when we are experiencing sorrow to check the subtle levels of body consciousness. So first of all, renounce the body consciousness that you have in you. That body consciousness causes you a lot of sorrow. Remain soul conscious, and you will also be able to remember the Father. By remaining body conscious, you are unable to remember the Father. That body consciousness lasts for half the cycle. By becoming soul conscious in this last birth, firstly, your burden of sins will end, and you will then also become 16 celestial degrees Sato Pradhan. Many don't understand this aspect of body consciousness. It is only body consciousness that makes human beings unhappy. It is only body consciousness that makes human beings unhappy. All other vices follow. When you become soul conscious, all the vices will be renounced. It is difficult to renounce them otherwise. The practice of body consciousness has become so firm that no one considers himself to be soul conscious, a soul. all the vices have to be donated in this. First of all, renounce body consciousness, lust, anger, etc. come afterwards. That one is your father. Because of body consciousness, you have been considering your physical fathers alone to be your fathers. Now, the main thing is how to become pure. In the impure world, all are impure. No one can be pure. Only the one Father purifies you all and takes you back home. How? In great happiness. You children are now concerned about having yoga. You have to die alive. To break body consciousness means to die. We souls remember Baba and become pure from impure. Baba alone taught you the way to become pure. He is now explaining it to you once again. He will explain it to you again every cycle. No one in the world can explain it. The main thing is to remember Shiva. That too, when you hear this through the BKs, because you are to receive the grandfather's inheritance. So, this father through whom you receive it is definitely required. You definitely have to receive directions through this corporeal one, Brahma Baba. Many children think that they will have yoga with Shiv Baba and forget Brahma. But how would you hear Shiv Baba? They say, we don't have any connection with Brahma Baba. All right, consider yourselves to be souls and remember Shiv Baba. Go home and sit there. But how would you receive this knowledge of the world's cycle? How would you be able to remember Baba without understanding this? Knowledge has to be received through this one alone. You won't receive knowledge again. You receive new points through the Father every day. How would you be able to understand anything without Brahma and the Brahma Kumaris? All of this has to be learned. The Father says, it is possible that those who sit at home and make effort to attain the Karmatit stage would also go into liberation. They cannot go into liberation in life. If you imbibe the wealth of knowledge and donate it, you become wealthy. How else would you become ever wealthy. You definitely do have to take the support of the Murli. You have to study it. Study it means not just read it, but understand it, go into the depth and imbibe it and become the Murli. Many will come who will just receive their aim and go into liberation, explained to all human beings. Simply remember the Father and you will become pure and Sato Pradhan. Then, when you take the wealth of knowledge, you will become wealthy in the golden age. Otherwise, you will go into liberation and then come down at the time of the path of devotion and perform devotion. You won't be able to benefit anyone because human beings definitely need knowledge in order to become deities. After listening to this knowledge, you also have to relate it to others. Look how much you, 4th December 21, morning Murli, Om Shanti, beat your heads at the exhibitions. In spite of that, it doesn't sit in anyone's intellects. A soul is such a tiny point. Every soul has received his or her own part. You know this at this time. All human beings are actors. All human beings are actors. This play is predestined. There also has to be the destruction of the old world. It is remembered that Rama went and Ravan went. No matter who goes, you children cannot experience sorrow. You know that this drama is predestined. Everyone is to be destroyed. Kings, queens, sages, holy men, etc. will all die. So who would collect their ashes? They do all of that just to glorify someone's name. Neither is there any benefit in that, nor do those departed souls receive happiness. On the path of devotion, whatever people do, it is without understanding. The Father is now making you so sensible. Constantly look at these pictures and think about what Baba is making you into by teaching you. However, if it is not in someone's fortune, he doesn't put it into practice. If it's not in someone's fortune, he doesn't put it into practice. the main thing on this journey, daily transformation, practice. After becoming the Father's children, can you not do service? The Father is the benefactor. Some children continue to cause a loss for many others. They disregard the feelings of those who have a few pure feelings for this university. Such ones perform such sinful actions. There is the interference of evil spirits. This is why it is remembered, those who defame the Sadguru cannot reach their destination. Both Bab and Dada are included in this. No one can do anything to the incorporeal one. No one can do anything to the incorporeal one. What would they say to him? On the path of devotion, they say, God causes sorrow. So our divine angel has arrived. Warm welcome, my sister. So on the path of devotion, they say, God causes sorrow. I hand you over to our precious angel, and all the energy and vibrations of beloved Baba and Madhuban is all coming through. Thank you, my sister.
Om Shanti Shelben, will you stop sharing screen, please? Thank you.
It's just traffic control here in Madhuban. Please join me for a moment. Om Shanti.
Thank you, my sister. Special welcome and thank you for your valuable time and energy and Madhuban energy.
And thanks to all of you for accommodating my slight lateness into the session. Shelben, what was the last line in the Murli that you finished with?
The God causes, people say that God causes sorrow.
Yeah, got it.
On the path of devotion, they say God causes sorrow.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. So it's lovely to be with the family. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the intervention that just happened this morning, which was a very productive meeting. And I'll let you know a little bit more news from Madhuban after the Murli. So Baba says, on the path of devotion, they say that God causes sorrow. And it is due to ignorance that they believe that. You children now know how much you rejected the Father under the influence of ignorance. It's a very powerful statement. You children now know how much you rejected the Father under the influence of ignorance, of not knowing him. There is no one who can make those who are Tamopradhan become Satopradhan. Instead, they give wrong directions, saying that God is omnipresent. People are so confused. This is why they ask, how can God enter the body of Brahma? Then, whose body would he enter? Would he enter the body of Krishna? How would there then be Brahma Kumars and Kumaris? They would then become deity Kumars and Kumaris if he entered Krishna. It would definitely be the Brahma Kumars and Kumaris who become Brahmins. Baba cannot do anything without Brahmins. What a special status we have. God cannot do anything without us Brahmins. That is why this one's picture, Brahma Baba's, definitely has to be placed here. This Brahma is also a Brahmin. Prajapita Brahma is needed in Bharat. Day by day, while sitting at home, many continue to receive visions of Brahma. There will continue to be growth. Those who have it in their parts will come running here. Many people believe that God definitely exists in some form. No one, apart from the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, can grant visions. Shiv Baba carries out establishment through Brahma. He gives knowledge and also creates the Brahmin religion. The religion of Brahmins is definitely needed. That is the highest of all. Prajapita Brahma is very high. He is said to be next to God. There isn't anyone else in the subtle region. There would just be establishment through Brahma, and that's all. Brahma then becomes a deity. And then, after 84 births, he becomes Brahma again. Once again. Brahma and Saraswati then become Lakshmi and Narayan. The prince and princess of knowledge then become the prince and princess in Satyuga. How Brahma becomes Vishnu and how Vishnu becomes Brahma is a very first-class point. You can explain it very well. This knowledge is received from the one Father. Explain very well at the exhibitions. Why do you become confused about Brahma? It's been quite a few Murlis now where Baba has been underlining Brahma Baba's role. Supporting, you see how Shiv Baba puts Brahma Baba in front and Brahma Baba puts Shiv Baba in front. And clearly this was towards, I think, 68, 69 when there was, as the family and service expanded, there was often souls saying they have a direct connection with Shiv Baba. So they don't need the agent in between. So Baba says, why do you become confused about Brahma? There are so many Brahmins. Only when someone first becomes a Brahmin can he then become a deity, a master of the land of Vishnu. The day of Brahma and the night of Brahma are well known. It is now the night. sit in front of such pictures and practice explaining. Those who want to do service will have no thoughts of anything but doing service. They will run to do service. The knowledge should be bubbling in your intellects. Only when your aprons are very full will you have that enthusiasm. You will run to do service. There's a beautiful connection Baba's making between Gyan and our energy levels. Sometimes we're low on energy, we're tired, and maybe sometimes our apron of the intellect has a few holes in it. The bucket's got a few holes in which whatever we're taking from Baba's being leaked away through waste, through unnecessary thoughts, words, activities, and we don't realize that. And the cost of that is that our energy levels suffer. And Baba says here, when you actually take on knowledge and keep your apron full, your enthusiasm levels stay high. And of course, then there's the whole aspect of, well, you want to share it, you want to give it, you want to let people know about it. So that's why Baba says, only when your aprons are very full will you have that enthusiasm. You will run to do service. It is impossible for you to have knowledge and to be unable to explain it. Why then do you take knowledge? If you take knowledge, you also have to donate it. If you don't donate it, and you cannot make others the same as yourselves, what sort of Brahmins are you? Baba's pulling our ears. If you don't donate it and you cannot make others the same as yourselves, what sort of Brahmins are you? Third grade. This donation is the business of first grade Brahmins. Baba explains to you children every day. Some children continue to do service, whereas others also do disservice. If you are unable to do service, you would definitely be doing disservice. Wherever good children go, they definitely do service. When the knowledge is given fully, the special children do not make any mistakes. So there's a wonderful other connection Baba's making with full knowledge is full accuracy. You don't make mistakes. So when the knowledge is given fully, the special children do not make any mistakes. Only then would they become beads of the rosary. The 8 beads are the main ones. The examination is very important. It is always very few who pass an important examination, because the government then has to employ them. Baba has to make you into the masters of the world, and this is why only a few of you pass. So the Pandav government has a very high examination to pass, and only those who pass can join the ranks of governance, i.e. mastery, become masters of the world. Everyone will become deities, but very few will attain the status of mastery. And I remember we asked Daddy one time, what is the effort required to become part of the 8? Especially, what's the effort that the 8 have made? And she said 2 things. One, that they pass with honors in all 4 subjects. And second, they have mastered the full stop. Complete full stop. So they're always working in full sync with Baba as the bindu and the drama in each moment. The second that is past is gone. It's gone. It's not ever revisited. So Baba says, Baba has to make you into the masters of the world. And this is why only a few pass. There would be hundreds of thousands of subjects. This is why Baba asks you, will you become an emperor or a wealthy subject? Or will you become poor? Speak. What will you become? Emperors have many maids and servants who are then given as part of the dowry. Make effort to claim a good status. Become so clever that everyone invites you. They generally do call someone. You know this, don't you? Those who don't have those qualifications are never invited by anyone. However, they themselves wouldn't know that they are third class. Some are serviceable. They continue to run everywhere to do service. They don't even think about their work, but run to do service. Some don't do service even though they don't have a job. They don't have that interest. Either it's not in their fortune, or they have an eclipse of bad omens. There is a lot of service to be done, and it does require some effort. Some even become tired. Whilst explaining to others, their throats become dry. In fact, even the throats of those who are third class dry up. This doesn't mean that they did very good service. Baba knows who does very good royal service. I have to tell you a little story here. Many years ago, when Daddy was in her full form and she used to give us class 3 times a day. You'd have class after Murli for 1 hour, and then middle of the day, 12 to 1, another class, and then in the evening, 7:30 to 8:30. And Daddy used to speak very fast, and often her sentences were half sentences. So, 2 words in Hindi is 4 in English. And so we're kind of running over ourselves, tripping over ourselves, trying to translate her classes. And one day, after a marathon 2-hour class, it was a noon class from 12 to 2, she came back to her room and I brought her back, and I sat down with her and she was starting to read a magazine and I just sat down and went, and she looked at me and she said, "What happened to you?" And I said to Daddy, "Do you know what it's like to translate your classes? It's like running with lightning speed, and it's 2 hours like a marathon class." And she looked at me and she said, "You're not tired, are you?" I said, "Well, I'm not tired, Daddy, but it is quite an effort." And she said, "Well, it's because you people use your energy and Daddy uses Baba's energy, so she doesn't get tired." And that was it. End of story, right? So Baba says, Baba knows who does very good royal service. This whole ability to have your internal faculties always kept in front of God. Whenever you're in front of God, there's something inside us that rises up. And if we always have this awareness that we're with Baba in everything we're doing, so much of our service can be filled with royalty, right? It's when Baba exits the picture that what happens? We start to get trapped in people's name and form, what they did, how they said it, what they should have done, what they shouldn't have done. So Baba says, Baba knows who does very good royal service. However, many have defects. They continue to get trapped in someone's name and form. They are then reformed by being given guidance. Never get trapped in anyone's name and form. Become soul conscious. A soul is a tiny point. The father too is a point. It takes a lot of effort to consider yourself to be a tiny point and to remember Baba. It takes a lot of effort to consider yourself to be a tiny point and to remember Baba. Superficially, they say, Shiv Baba, I remember you a great deal. However, there has to be accurate remembrance in your intellects. And now Baba defines accurate remembrance. You have to remember him with great patience, depth, and sincerity. You have to remember him with great patience, depth, and sincerity. Hardly anyone remembers Baba in this way. It requires a lot of effort. Acha. Yeah. I think this whole aspect of the father a point, the soul a point, and it takes a lot of effort to consider yourself to be a tiny point. It's almost like it needs the preparation, long-term preparation of keeping our faculties, our internal faculties focused. So, for example, if we're just passing time by, wasting time, or entering conversations that don't have a purpose, then all of those things burden our faculties, or they kind of defect our internal faculties. So then it's really difficult for us to then, in Gyan Yoga, to understand the point of what Baba's talking about, as well as be the point. Because the whole lifestyle of ours is still supporting, a lot of meandering, storytelling, expressions, excuses. And we live in that soup, and our faculties get rusty in that soup. And then it's hard to get to the point, literally get to the point. So that's why Baba says you have to remember him with great patience, depth, and sincerity. Hardly anyone remembers Baba in this way. It requires a lot of effort. Acha, to the sweetest beloved, long lost and now found children. Love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bab Dada. The spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. The essence for dharana. The first point, fill your apron with the jewels of knowledge and donate them. Remain busy in this business and become a first-class Brahmin. Two, you are the children of the benefactor father, and you must therefore benefit everyone. You are the children of the benefactor father, and you must therefore benefit everyone. Don't perform a wrong task by rejecting anyone's pure feelings or by giving wrong directions. Don't perform a wrong task by rejecting anyone's pure feelings or by giving wrong directions. Blessing. May you be an immortal image and gain victory over all adverse situations with this means of making spiritual progress. May you be an immortal image and gain victory over all adverse situations with this means of making spiritual progress. Just as you adopt many means for the livelihood of your body, in the same way, Also adopt this means for making spiritual progress. What are the means? Practice being constantly stable as an immortal image. Those who move along, considering themselves to be images of immortality, souls, are saved from untimely death, death and all problems. This is a wonderful sentence. Those who practice being constantly stable as an immortal image, those who move along, considering themselves to be images of immortality, souls, are saved from untimely death, death and all problems. In order to remove mental worries and stressful situations, simply continue to erase any awareness of your old body. In order to remove mental worries and stressful situations, simply continue to erase any awareness of your old body. Slogan. When you repeatedly feel something, you fail the final paper. So that was talking about the word feel in the context of being sensitive and, your feelings changing quickly over small things. So when you repeatedly feel something, you fail the final paper. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Would you like to have a few moments meditation by the Tower of Peace? And then I can take up class. Just give me a second and I'll turn the camera around. Hello?
Yes, that would be delightful, Gopi Ben. Thanks.
Yeah? Okay, give me a few minutes and I'll just turn the camera around. So welcome to Madhuban. Welcome home. Come and find your seat by the Tower of Peace. And just soak in the silence and the sweet silence of Madhuban. Om Shanti. It doesn't feel like you're distant. The power of Madhuban is the power of Baba. And Baba is the ocean of peace and the ocean of silence. And I feel like even though physically I may be here, but in order to be able to take the full benefit of Madhuban, it's not about the building and the place and even the physical environment anymore. It's about staying tuned into the one who has created it. That's my feeling. According to drama, today, this morning, 6 a.m., I received a call from Dr. Pratap, who had had been trying for a long time to arrange a meeting with the subdivisional magistrate, the SDM of Mount Abu, who oversees all the permissions related to various construction. And he gave us the time, 10 o'clock. And I was advised to make sure I was there. And it's so interesting because over the last decades, 80 years, 70, 80 years, Pandit Bhavan's been here. No, since 1950, so 50, 60, 70 years, Pandit Bhavan here. There's just been very little physical improvement because of various limitations. You know, and it's a little bit like a person who may be disabled and has restrictions on mobility or restrictions on their ability to move, and yet their heart is very strong. Their essence and their being is so powerful that it nourishes the whole yagya, and that's what Pandit Bhavan is. You know, whilst at a physical level, there are buildings that are dilapidated, there's so much work to be done, the kitchen is in such a bad shape. So at a physical level, things are breaking down at a very fast rate, and yet at a spiritual level, it is the powerhouse that is sustaining the yagya. The evening bhattis here are serving to keep a powerful atmosphere alive. And it's that atmosphere and the vibrations of those atmospheres that actually does the service at an unlimited level. You know, and so I'm having to travel a lot up and down, and I had to understand, you know, what the SDM was saying, the restrictions we have in place. And I thought to myself, my gosh, if I was a physical human being and somebody applied all those restrictions on me, I would feel like I'm in bondage. I can't do this and I can't do that, and that's not possible at that level. So what's left now? And it was almost like it was mimicking the current crisis we're in because of COVID. You know, it was like what's happening in Pandit Bhavan is a microcosm of what's actually happening in the world at a global level, where COVID has hit. And because of COVID, there's restrictions all across physically. And so people are really being forced and encouraged to kind of go deeper and reinvent themselves differently at a very deep level. And I feel like that's what Pandit Bhavan's doing. I feel like this scene in the drama where even though we have an expert team of consultants ready to give their full, to make Pandit Bhavan expand, but we are met at every step with a restriction, a limitation. So we suddenly have to steer the car and work differently, find a different solution for something unique. And we have a scope. You can't go high and you can't go wide. You have to work within the space you have. And so within what you have, what can you enrich and make the most of it? And I feel that is such a key message at this time, because it is not now time for further expansion. These restrictions are a loud signal from the drama to say, stop wherever you are now, and now rethink your aim, rethink we're going home, now rethink your whole context and your whole situation within that context. Dramas put stop signs around you. Now you have to rethink how you're going to fulfill your aim within what you already have at a physical level, emotional level. And you know what I feel? I feel like, you know, if you're body conscious, you're going to think, well, you know, oh, what's possible? Nothing's possible. We've tried. And you'll just settle for where you're at, which is compromise. But if really you practice this internal state of being soul conscious and shed the body consciousness of disheartenment, shed the body consciousness of doubts and worries and fear, then miracles are possible. You can fulfill your dreams and your aim with what you have around you right now. And I deeply feel that's the message Pandit Bhavan is giving us, or giving me at this point in time, with having just objectively looked at the current ebb and flow of what's going on. Shantivan Shantivan was built because we had restrictions in Pandav Bhavan, right? And it's interesting to note that Baba's preparing Shantivan for the masses. When Baba says it's going to be, the langar, how the Sikhs do the langar, where the food langar, people line up in queues. So we still have to wait for those queues till Mount Abu. And it'll happen, but for a short time. There might be a window of time in which suddenly everything descends and then suddenly everything closes and it's time to wrap up. So this langar, or this immediate expansion, won't continue for a long time. It'll be for a short period of time. And I'm seeing how downstairs Baba is preparing in a physical way Baba's campus to support thousands to come. The kitchen is almost completely automated. Baba's campus, we have Solar One, the plant, and it's off the grid. And so that means at the end, we will have no electricity issues. And if everything is automated, it means we're making the campus, especially the kitchen and the water, less labor dependent. So the whole thing we can manage with less manpower, things automated, less hands touching, and we can produce more. We can meet the needs of the unlimited at the end. And I have to be honest, humbled. I am really humbled to see the contrasts of both dimensions coexisting together. The whole physical situation of Pandav Bhavan, the small scale of Pandav Bhavan, but yet the deep sweetness and richness and the powerhouse, the yagya vibe and the yagya cocoon and cubicle of Pandav Bhavan, and yet all the restrictions and expansion. And then downstairs, no restrictions and expansion, but the preparation to support the unlimited. And so many times, I suppose people say, well, what should we be doing? Should we be having yoga? Should we be doing service? Well, both. Pandav Bhavan and Shantivan are two amazing examples. Watching Baba's yagya and machinery run, nothing is stopping. Absolutely nothing is stopping. 2 daddies passed away last year. Are we in 2022? No, we're in 2021, right? So they passed away this year, 2 daddies. And yet the machinery of Madhuban hasn't stopped. It just continues. And in some way, to truly be an instrument that can co-create with God, it requires a foundation of humility. And humility means bringing yourself down to that tiny little cog in this enormous wheel and machinery of God's plan, God's creation for a future kingdom that has multiple things on the burner, not just one thing. The path to Satyug is not just one straight path. Papa's got an army of Brahmins with different specialities, and different stages of that plan are being executed now. And I think it's so important to be humble, to tune in to that broader picture, instead of my own little belief system that narrows me to a very limited level of effort. That's what happens, is if you don't tune into a broader picture and a broader perspective, you carry a very limited belief in your head. And in a sense, within that belief system is you make effort, and that effort is worth chickpeas. It's literally just worth chickpeas. And so my feeling, as I was coming up the mountain this morning and, having this meeting with the SDM and then coming over here to meet all of you, was just this whole incredible paradox was being revealed, and yet both are valid and both are necessary. And the funny thing in my experience is that both situations require the same level of internal attention to being soul conscious to make them work. It's very interesting. In Pandav Bhavan, at a managerial level, there's a bit of frustration, the energy of frustration, because of the inability to move forward and expand in the way Shantivan, because they're looking at Shantivan, right? And so the dynamic of that energy and handling that energy, the frustration of body consciousness, that it is something that has to be renounced so that we can create innovatively here within the scope that we've received. So the attention to soul consciousness doubles so that you can keep your intellect free from these clouds of like years of people's kind of going, oh, hopelessness and helplessness, not going to happen, it's not possible. And then Shantivan, which is sometimes the excitement of getting things done. There's so much pleasure when a job is done. And yet managing expansion in a way that it doesn't compromise my stage of being essenceful. And so I feel that in both situations, I have to maintain a powerful stage of remaining in essence inside myself, at every level, where on this side, I don't let myself get defeated by hopelessness or disheartenment. And on this side, I don't get seduced into the lure of expansion and, oh, yes, things are happening. And, it's so easy for the ego to use the name of service and get its job done, where you end up being efficient in what you're doing, but perhaps not very spiritual. And so really, I feel being guided by Baba and staying safe in planning at any level at this point in time. It was really about what Baba said in the Murli today, creating my life now in such a way that I minimize distractions. I create an environment in which it's easy for me to absorb Baba's intention in Baba's Murli. It's easy for me to get Baba's touchings, to get the point of what needs to happen in this moment in time in the drama. And then I can move forward in a very clean and light way, and to keep knowledge in the forefront of my intellect. It's been a powerful experience working with these departments, and I've had to work with every department across the board. And you are met, with individuals that have spent years in a department trying to bring change according to their capacity, and yet have found it very difficult at the management level to get anything done. And here we are with more restrictions from the government, and chatting to them, speaking to them, I have to be so careful not to take on board their history. That's another key factor at this time. There's a lot of karmic accounts being played out. There's a lot of people having to realize their own sanskars and the body consciousness they need to let go of to be able to think outside the box. I was talking to the brother here who manages all the dishwashing. And of course, he goes, I need labor. I used to have 20 labor before the COVID hit. Now I need all 20 again. And he was making such a big deal about it. And I went quiet. And on the one side, as he was expounding why he needs all the labor, I could feel the helplessness in his voice. And yet at the same time, I thought to myself, his intellect hasn't been able to adjust to the time. His intellect is still holding on to an old perception of how things should be. And so there's no space for Baba to give touchings for a new way. So we had a little chat and a little meeting, and I heard him out. And I said to him, look, what are the times telling you at this point in time? They're telling us big signal, less labor dependent. So what are the other options available to you to be able to think about this differently? Go to Baba's room and just ask Baba this. Baba's in charge of this campus. Ask Baba. And he's a fairly senior brother in this campus, in the department. He's been running it. And he was just deeply touched. So he went and sat in Baba's room. And he came back and he said, Benji, I have an idea. This has never been done before, but if you can help me do it, we need to get a dishwasher for 500 people in this location. And if I can figure out how to get the electricity there and the water connection there, will you help me get a dishwasher for 100,000? I said, excellent idea. And he said, I've even figured out we're going to need less labor if we start automating certain aspects of our dishwashing. And I just thought, amazing. Here is somebody who just needed the support of not feeding his waste, not feeding his complaints, not feeding his issues, and just needed a clean support to become present in this moment now, face the reality, connect with God again, and kaping, a new solution enters your head. So why I'm sharing this with you, because so much I know at a macro level, and in your own situations, it could be karmic accounts with your bodies, it could be with your centers, it could be with your families, the restrictions, the enclosures. Your body consciousness is erupting 110-fold, right? In any form. And you'll see that sanskar emerge in your mind, in the way you think, in the way you feel. And it's like hitting a brick wall. And yet in that moment, if I can stop, just let myself become a detached observer, collect all the energy of the soul, this living Shakti, into a point. Let myself just sit in the seat of being a detached observer. Name the reality of the signals and the drama at this point in time. And sit with Baba and say to Baba, show me. Show me. And have the generosity of heart and intellect at this moment in time to stay available to God. Instead of just staying within the boundaries of your disheartenment and hopelessness and doubts, and not allowing space for God to touch the intellect. A generous heart starts with an open mind and a clean intellect. And so I really feel we are being encouraged to up our game powerfully. And we've got to get faster and quicker in being able to shed all the different forms and feelings of body consciousness that are like tendrils, that just, if we're off guard, they'll just quietly creep up and go. And next thing you know, you'll have a little bit of a mood change, a bit of a reaction, a bit of a stoppage, a bit of a blockage. And then you spend time and energy trying to overcome that. And so why can't we just find ways to keep our feelings in the unlimited? Because I feel that's the game at this point in time. It's just the game of two words, limited and unlimited. And I shared this yesterday. I was in a class with Malaysia and the Asia Pacific region, that whoever at this point in time has a personal practice of staying close to Baba and keeping their feelings unlimited. What do I mean by unlimited feelings? It's two forms. It's the feeling of beyond the silence of home, but at the same time, the benevolence and the mercy and the compassion of the Father, the good wishes that accompany that experience. And I'd asked Niwebai what was his practice, because I'd spent about 4 days with him last week before he came to Madhuban in Ahmedabad. And he says every morning it takes him half an hour, but he starts here in the corporeal world. And he starts with his first childhood days experiences with Sakhar Baba. So he starts at a very grounded level here, and his memories with Sakhar Baba, and those are emerged, and that just takes him into an experience of very deep love. The love of the childhood days re-emerges. Then, in the subtle region, he meets his complete stage, the vision that Baba has of him. So he meets Avyakt Brahma in the subtle region, and he also meets through Avyakt Brahma's eyes the vision of his complete stage. And if there's a conversation needed with his complete stage, he has it there. And then after a period of time when he's ready, he becomes the master seed in Paramdham, the Bindu with Shiv Baba, and experiences that stage of being a master seed full of powers and just rich and deep. And the silence is not just sweet, but it's deeply powerful. It's dead silence. And sometimes he says, in Paramdham, Daddy Kamarka is with him. So we had a little chuckle. And then from that point, he says it happens automatically, but when he's at that level with Baba, and Baba, he feels Baba at all three levels, sakar, avyakt, and incorporeal. Okay, so you're not separate from Baba. He's not separate from Baba in this flow. And as he's with Baba, then he starts to feel the whole universe. You know, the earth, moon, the stars, everything that lights up the stage. And then he feels the earth, and he feels the benevolence of Baba and the good wishes of Baba, serving the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth. And he literally sees the earth go round, you know, each of the continents pass by, and he feels the different instrument souls on each continent. It was so beautiful. He says every day there's different souls that emerge. It's not that he's making effort, it's just they just emerge. And then from there, he comes back into his corporeal awareness, bringing in that light and power, and just allowing those rays, one by one, cover each of the meridians of the body. And that whole trip, right, from sakar to avyak to incorporeal to unlimited to back to corporeal and of service, is a trip of service. It's not a trip of just going beyond and staying disconnected and detached, but it's a trip that he says has built in him the capacity for finishing all negativity and reaction. He says now it doesn't matter who he meets, and let me tell you, he meets a lot of variety of people, right? People at different stages in their effort, different complaints, different yagya issues. And he says he just doesn't have any negative thoughts towards anyone. And I thought, how neat is that? And so for me, you know, I've been, especially since I arrived in Madhuban, thinking about my own personal journey. And what is my personal practice that creates the cycle of unlimited feelings and benevolence? And for me, it has a lot to do with silence. The first step of just physical silence and the respect for this corporeal body and of the nourishment that Baba is giving me now, my attainments now. And whenever I remember those attainments and how Baba's looking after me now, my whole body relaxes. It's like you literally feel like you're being cared for emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually by Baba. And it makes you nischint, right? So in this moment, I don't have to worry about my physics. And then I take myself into the experience of one of the qualities of the soul. And I step into the dimension of sweet silence. So it could be love, it could be bliss, it could be deep peace. And I just let myself soak in the quality, in that original quality of the soul. Sweetness of that peace. The softness of that love. And then from that point, I let myself go home and experience a complete concentration of energy inside. Just being the point, seed with the seed. And often from that place, I feel different forms. I feel sometimes a master lighthouse and might house, vibrations across the world. I feel like an ocean, a master ocean sometimes. And then I return back into the corporeal with a bigger heart, a broader intellect. And the wheel starts to turn again. So I'm looking at the clock. And if you leave me, I'll keep talking because I'm in Madhuban and I really, feel like it's been just so beneficial to also share some of these experiences with you. And I hope that at this point in time, wherever you're at in your journey, something is helpful for you. Om Shanti.
Special thank you, Sister Gopi, for being with us and sharing so deeply. And family, I know the family has taken great benefit. Thank you, and love to everyone in Madhuban.
Sure. I'm going to meet Shashiben now. So I will extend your love to her. Would you like to finish with 2 minutes, 1 minute by the Tower of Peace again?
Yes, please.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Okay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much.